Hello everybody, and welcome to Game Talk. This is also going to be a game review of the NES classic noid. Now, this game is confusing. For those of you that aren't aware, the Noid was a claymation mascot for Domino's Pizza in the late 1980s. And this game came out, in North America, November 22nd, 1990. Right towards the end of the Noid's run with the company. So why would they release a game like this right at almost the end of the ad campaign? It's a little confusing. What's even more confusing is the plot. In noid, wild slime-like creatures led by Mr. Green were running amok around New York City as they caused havoc. The mayor of the city decided to call the Noid to stop his evil duplicate who is causing all this trouble, save the city, and receive a massive pizza reward. Now, this plot really bothers me because the Noid, he ruined pizzas. That was his thing. Avoid the Noid. He ruins pizzas. So, in a city like New York, which by the way, Domino's has nothing to do with. Domino's was actually stationed in a completely different state, to be exact. So, being in New York would be kind of weird. So, anyway, so with all the, the police and SWAT team and all this stuff that New York has, they call the Noid a being who has not shown any kind of sympathy for people whatsoever. So that completely doesn't make sense. It's almost like they took another game and just slapped the Noid on it to get some brand recognition. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what they did. This game is known in Japan as Kamen no Ninja Hanamaru, if you will. Well, translated it means Masked Ninja Hanamaru. So why did they change this? Well, that's not the only thing they changed. In gameplay, both games used the modified engine of Wagonland, and they shared the same gameplay, where there's no life meter. You lose a life by either making contact with an enemy or running out of time before completing a level. Your weapons of choice? Well, Hanamaru has a hawk. The Noid has a yo-yo. And not like the ancient yo-yos either. I'm talking like, the little plastic yo-yos. But you can gather magic points by collecting scrolls and using them for screen clearing attacks and very rare power-ups. They can be found in large scrolls, and if you hit them with your weapon, you get additional power such as a freeze screen and a few other ones. Extra lives were rewarded every 20,000 points scored. Most levels were traveled on foot, but in some exceptions the levels varied, which included a skateboard level, an auto gyro, which in Hanamaru he actually uses his hawk, and this is just, it's so weird that they would actually have the Noid be in this type of game. Gameplay wise, it's actually a pretty good game. It's considered an NES classic, which is rare for a licensed product. Most licensed product games don't do too well, noid being one of the few exceptions. But the reason why it's an exception is because essentially the whole game is Masked Ninja Hanamaru. All they did was just slap a new name on it, replace a hawk with a yo-yo. But one thing about this game is that it is exceedingly difficult. And the boss battles are just weird. In Hanamaru, it uses a card-based battle for your bosses. The noid focuses on pizza eating contest. Okay, so if he's going to get a massive pizza reward, why would he be eating pizza throughout all the other bosses? That makes no sense. Oh, a little interesting fact. Back in the day when you bought this game, on the back cover of the instruction manual, it included a $1 Domino's pizza coupon. $1. Which back then was actually a pretty good discount. So there's really not a whole lot to say, except this game has very typical NES cryptic nonsense. To find some of these all essential triple point cards, double point cards, which you need for the boss battles later on, it requires you shooting your yo-yo into thin air in certain places. But one thing that I learned while playing back this classic is that if you have grown accustomed to playing the modern games, good luck trying to beat this one. While modern day games are fairly easy to pass because it wants to tell a narrative story rather than giving you a fair challenge. Of course, the exception is Dark Souls. That is the one exception. But other than that, the older games are just so much more difficult compared to what's going on today. The reason why games were difficult back then wasn't just because of the arcade mentality of nickel and diming you, because a lot of NES games were not released in arcades. What they did is they wanted to give you a fair challenge, because, imagine you pay roughly $40 for a new game back in those days, and then you beat it on your first try. That would feel like it's $40 wasted. So they wanted to give you something more difficult. They gave you a reasonable challenge. Although with some games, Noid is included in this, I don't think the challenge should never be into cryptic nonsense. With this level of hidden secrets, and these things are essential for these boss battles, because these boss battles, they're pretty much random of what kind of cards you're going to get. I used to think that it was related to how many extra scrolls you collected and how much you didn't use your magic in order to get better cards, but evidently that wasn't true, evidently. If you're looking for a good NES challenging game, this is one I would definitely pick up. Well, I already have it, but yeah. Go ahead and pick up this game. Get it, play it. It's a great game. I just think it's so weird that they would use this. It's not like, Mass Ninja Hanamaru needed to be translated or localized. It didn't really need that. You could have just, instead of Mass Ninja, you could have just put any random hero and it would have been fine. Why did they use a claymation mascot of Domino's Pizza who was on his way out? He wasn't a good guy. So why would he even bother saving New York? And why New York? Domino's is not located in New York City. Look it up. As a matter of fact, if you look up the symbol of Domino's, those 3 dots are actually pretty significant to its first 3 locations in its original home state. Its original home state being... Hang on, let me look this up real quick. Yeah, okay, I was right. I was right. I had to make sure. I had to check it real quick just to make sure I was right. But yeah, its home state was Michigan. It originally started in Ann Arbor, Michigan in 1960. Actually, wait, no. It was started in Ypsilanti, Michigan, which is pretty much probably right next to Ann Arbor. But the two locations that you see on the bottom of the domino are actually its first two locations, and the one on top is its single location. But anyway, so there's no connection with Domino's and no connection to Domino's in New York. That really makes it kind of confusing as to why this would be there. Why would it take place in New York? Why not just any random city? Or why not Ann Arbor? Why not anywhere? Again, it's just confusing that they would actually make a game out of this, let alone have such a great game out of it. There's really not much else to say except other than, once again, this is a great game. I suggest you go ahead and buy it. And actually on the local market, or I should say on the online market, it's actually not even that expensive as compared to some of the other classic NES games that are going up in price. And this game is difficult. One thing I would like everybody to do, if they have younger siblings, cousins, younger friends, if you ever wind up getting in a debate of whether or not new games or old games are better or harder, I dare you to dare them to play some of these old games. As a matter of fact, if you have, say you have young kids, young brothers, young sisters that are constantly wanting to play your games from your collection rather than from theirs, give them a challenge. Hook up an NES system to the PC or television if you have the right cords for it, and tell them they cannot buy a new game until they pass some of the games you grew up with. You'll save yourself a lot of money. Alright, well, that's all I'm going to talk about with here. I'd like to thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.